Good tuna, but I think I paid too much.
I always wear my mask and wash my hands after going home.
I am the king of the ring.
Welcome to the Japan What Podcast, episode 209. And I am your host, Matthew P.M. Bigelow.com. And I'm coming at you from the Aizumicho Studios in Shinjuku, Tokyo, Japan. The orbit, Asia. Covering Japan Society 5.0, AI market trends, rising conflict in the Indo-Pacific, the supply chain wars, population, migration, and more. We thank you for coming along the adventure. That is today's show. Still getting used to the new intro there? Sync up with it eventually. The mind will find ways to sync up with it, but I hope you're doing well. We got a busy day as usual, recording this on Friday. I've had like this floating schedule, and the podfather, Adam Curry, the inventor of the podcast, people ask him for advice. He's like, always release on the same day. But what are you supposed to do? I got other things going on, Mr. Podfather. Yeah, I got 2 young kids, crazy work schedule, inflation's going nuts. We got uncertain present situation in Japan. And I'm just to be Mr. Schedule over here. What is this? Mr. Schedule? Nah. So it's Friday today. I hope it is. Depends on the uploading, though. There has been issues with the uploading. It's one of those back-end things that slowly crawls from the periphery into the central vision, and you go, I hope it doesn't. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. We're going to focus today on Japan's economy, the supply chain war, and Society 5.0. And it's kind of interesting with the way that I go through like the newses, and then I go through the searches, then I use some large language models to see if I missed anything. And if you just look at one thing, it's always just that one dot. But with the first one we're going to look at here, the Japanese economy, the way that the media likes to frame things, the mainstream media is lying to you yet again. Not really, but I'm going to just like that's. Sometimes they will put 2 things in front of you and then like use one word that technically doesn't connect those 2 things. But then everybody just connects those 2 things, or the people reading it connect those 2 things. Because that's how humans are. I can hold one hand with 1 finger in front of you and another hand with 3 fingers in front of you. And you might think that I'm trying to combine these 2 things together to create a message for you. Like, oh, it's going to be 13 o'clock soon, or I'll give you 3 if you give me 1, something, right? But I go, no, I'm just holding up my hands in front of you, and this 1 finger that's up and the other hand that has 3 fingers are totally different things. But I'm just going to hold them up in front of your face and look at you and wave them around. But if you connect those things together, that's on you. That's kind of how it works. Anyways, let's take a look at the economy theme song here. What? No, this one.
Here we go.
I'm going to be focusing on the automotive industry, not because I'm especially the big car guy. I'm really not. I've never really owned a car. One of the main reasons I like living in Tokyo is you don't have to have a car. I know people that love cars and they love having cars. Great. I mean, I'm not against cars. It's just I've always liked my life better when I didn't have one. But the reason I'm using the automotive industry is just because this is like the link that I was mentioning earlier about the 2 things that are connected, but they aren't. But they are. Are they? I don't know. And I came across this pattern by looking at the automotive industry. And is the thing that they're trying to not compare it to a distraction? Is it actually this thing is happening because are we heading towards a recession ? Or if we say that, that's really, we can't prove it. So we just use a Weasley word and then something else to kind of say maybe that's the reason. But it's not, because I didn't say it was. Anyways, here's the first example. Nissan to post biggest ever loss in fiscal 2024 amid restructuring. So it says amid. It doesn't mean the restructuring is making the loss, but just the restructuring. Why didn't the headline just say Nissan to post biggest ever loss in fiscal 2024? Why do we need amid restructuring there? I don't see why we would need to do that. It'd be like saying, hey, I really feel like going out to dinner tonight amid restructuring. It's like, what? Hey, by the way, just so you know, our keys are being repaired because they were crushed in that collapse the other day. So I'm just gonna I've got this one key. We're waiting on the other two because they didn't have enough keys. So I'm just gonna put this key under the mat amid restructuring. What? Does this amid restructuring have anything to do with the keys? No. So this comes to us April 24th, 2025, and we're recording this on April 25th, 2025. Tokyo, from Kyoto News, via the Mainichi, Japan's national daily since 1922. Nissan Motor Corp said Thursday it estimates a net loss of 700 billion yen, $4.9 billion, to 750 billion yen for the year ended March due to restructuring costs. Well, it says due to here, but I don't know. Far wider than its earlier forecast of an 80 billion yen loss. So it said we're going to lose 80 billion yen, but actually it's probably closer to 750 billion yen. Oops. Because of restructuring. It's just the restructuring that made us lose all this money. It would be the automaker's biggest ever annual net loss, exceeding 684.4 billion yen it posted in the year to March 2020. 2000. That was 20 years ago. That's when they got that Lebanese guy, Ghosn, Ghosn. That's how you spell his last name. It looks like it should be Gahosen, but it's actually Ghosn. The company now sees an operating profit of 85 billion yen for the just ended fiscal year, down from the earlier forecast of 120 billion yen, while sales are projected at 12.6 trillion yen, slightly up from the previous estimate of 12.5 trillion yen. Wow, now, okay. Japan's third largest automaker will post an asset impairment loss of more than 500 billion yen on its production facilities in Japan, North America, and Europe, it said. Nissan said it is still finalizing the financial impact of restructuring efforts. It is scheduled to announce its earnings results for the year May 13th. CEO Ivan Espinosa, who assumed Nissan's top post on April 1st, has vowed to turn around the company struggling with sluggish sales in China and the United States, its two key markets. Oh, well, it doesn't say posted this massive loss amid sluggish sales in China and the United States. No, it's just restructuring. A lack of hybrid models in its U.S. Product lineup has been the main reason the company is losing ground against its rivals in the market. Really? Well, it is faced with severe price competition in China and with local automakers, analysts say. So, I'm going to put it down from there. So the main thing here is that we have these massive losses. In the middle of the article, it says, well, there's all these cheap other alternatives and sales are sluggish, but it's restructuring. Is it? I'm not sure if it is. And then the next one here, moving on to the next one. Toyota truck arm Hino posts record net loss for fiscal 2024 on data fraud. Oh, well, we just said on data fraud. It doesn't mean because of data fraud. So that's Mainichi, again, national daily since 1922. And again, this is from April 24th. Hino Motors Limited, the truck-making subsidiary of Toyota Motor Corp, posted on Thursday a record net loss of 217 billion yen, or $1.53 billion, for fiscal 2024 due to criminal penalties in the United States over fraudulent emissions data reporting. The Japanese truck maker fell into the red from a 17 billion net profit a year earlier, further pressured by class action lawsuits in countries such as Canada seeking damages from the company. In January, Hino reached a settlement with the Department of Justice and other U.S. authorities to pay $1.2 billion in penalties. The issue came to light in 2022 when the company admitted to submitting fabricated emissions and fuel economy data to transport authorities. but Hino expects to return to the black. We are steadily moving towards normalization, President Satoshi Ogiso said in an online press conference. So maybe that is because of the data fraud, but we don't know. It doesn't really say. Maybe that is the reason, but we don't know about the other sales reports. But it's just that one thing. It's like amid restructuring on data fraud. I mean, why doesn't it just say Toyota truck arm Hino posts record net loss for fiscal year 2024? Why not just leave it there? On data fraud. Does that mean like, oh, what's the data fraud? I got to read into the article. So they're just trying to get me to read into their mediocre writing to get a number? Well, it could be a headline. But anyways, so it's like on data fraud. So that's the other thing there. Moving on to the next one. Toyota. I should have began with Toyota considering it's the parent company of Hino. Quality scandal sends Toyota global output down for the first time in 4 years. From JapanToday.com. Published today. Toyota Motor Corp said Thursday its global production for the year ended March fell 2.9% from a year earlier to 9.68 million units, marking the first decline in 4 years, following a quality-related scandal. Well, following doesn't mean that's because of it, but we're just going to put these two things here, and you're going to put them together because that's what the brain does. You have two images in front of you, and the person says, well, I didn't say because, so I don't know why you're linking those two things, but that's what the mind does. In fiscal 2024, global sales edged down 0.3% to 10 million units after the automaker was found to have failed to fully comply with government vehicle safety testing standards. But for March alone, worldwide production rose 9.1% from a year earlier to 880,000 units, and sales grew 8% as buyers rushed to make purchases ahead of expected auto tariffs under U.S. President Donald Trump. Anyway, so that's by region. Production and sales in North America were flat as the impact of a recall was offset by robust demand for hybrids. In China, output fell 7.8%, and sales were down 5.9% because of stiff competition from cheaper local brands. Combined global production by Japan's 8 major automakers fell 4.8% in fiscal 2024 from a year earlier to 24.17 million units, falling for the first time in 3 years, according to data released by the companies. So there we go. So we have a lot more competition from China. It doesn't say that in the headline again. Amid competition from China. It's just global output. It's just quality scandal. That's what did it. Because everybody who's like wants a Toyota goes, oh, they fudged the numbers on their bullshit environmental standards, so we're not going to buy Toyota. I don't think that's the reason. I think it's recession. I think it's inflation. I think it's people don't have the money they used to. They're probably not just buying more cars as they used to do. Still doing it, but just not in the numbers as previously seen. I mean, there's a serious issue here. Next one. Mazda. This comes to us from the Asahi Shimbun, Asia and Japan Watch. Mazda to seek early retirement volunteers as industry shifts. So the industry is shifting. That's why all of our employees have to go. Mazda Motor Corp will solicit 500 employees to voluntarily retire early, encouraging older workers to find new careers as the industry shifts to electric and self-driving vehicles. Is it really shifting to electric? Is it? The program, which runs through the end of next year, will cover employees between the ages of 50 and 61 who have been with Mazda for 5 years or more, the automaker said April 22nd. Now, if you're 20 years old, a 50-year-old seems like a very old person. But if you're 50 years old and you've been with Mazda since like your mid-40s, early 40s, mid-30s, you're going to not be able to find a decent job after that, likely. It might be very tough for you. So it's bigger than it seems. Will those people with their next job at a 60% reduced pay be able to afford a new Mazda? Executive Officer Tomiko Takeuchi said the second career support program is not designed to deal with the impact of a newly imposed additional 25% of U.S. tariffs on automobiles. Company officials said the program has been under consideration before that, so they're kind of bringing in the tariff thing to obfuscate the real reason. The audio industry is said to be undergoing a period of a once-in-a-century transformation. How many centuries is there in the auto industry? Driven by electrification and automation, companies are under pressure to secure financial resources to invest in cutting-edge technologies. Self-driving cars have been around for 15 years now. It's not cutting edge anymore, anybody. It's not cutting edge. Tesla does it, and they do it very well, despite all of the people attacking Teslas, which are surrounded by cameras, and that makes them retarded. The idea that you can, sorry to use the R word, just came out because that, a wink, not even a wink, it's not cutting edge. It's kind of like, it's old. You wouldn't say like, I'm listening to this new Nirvana album. You wouldn't say, oh yes, I have heard about YouTube. It's cutting edge, right? It's been around for a while. A lot of this stuff's been around for a while. It just hasn't been rolled out because it doesn't get past regulation. If you look at aviation in the early days, there was no regulatory authorities. But now in the year 2025, we're so constricted by regulation. You just can't have somebody going and doing their own thing because a bunch of lawyers come in and chew you to pieces. Mazda last sought early retirement volunteers in 2001 when its performance worsened. At the time, about 2,200 employees applied for early retirement and left the company. And Mazda said the latest voluntary retirement program is a different system aimed at helping employees change their careers. Applicants can obtain assistance from outplacement experts and receive an early retirement buyout. So, again, doesn't look good. So that's Nissan, Hino, Toyota, Mazda. Interesting, But if we look at the tone from the automotive industry from China's efforts, China's fast-growing EV makers pursuing varied routes to global expansion. This is from JapanToday.com as well. The world's auto industry is getting a shakeup from Chinese automakers that are quickly expanding across the globe, offering relatively affordable electric vehicles designed to wow car buyers with sleek designs and the latest high-tech interiors. Notice how they don't say amid or on, or they don't try to obfuscate it. It just is what it is. Interesting how the media is doing that. The mainstream media is lying to us yet again. Companies like BYD, Great Wall, Geely, and Chery Automobile are reaching outward as they build the scale they need to survive cutthroat competition in their home market. These generally are not state-run giants, and blah, blah, blah. So it says, oh, well, China's doing pretty good here. And then the last one, amid all of this competition and declining sales from the Mainichi, April 24th, 2025, BYD to introduce mini EV model designed for Japan in 2026. BYD is a Chinese one. BYD stands for Build Your Dream. I saw one about a month ago. Looked good. The Japanese unit of Chinese electric vehicle giant BYD Co. said Thursday it will introduce a mini electric vehicle model specifically designed for the Japanese market in the latter half of 2026 as it aims to boost sales with the new compact car. That's what the Americans should be doing with this tariff war. U.S. President Trump has been all like, they don't take our cars. We offer them security. They don't even take our cars. I don't know why. Who made this deal? I didn't make this deal. I make the best deals. But it's like, well, just get your companies to make the cars for the country. Like there's all these tiny little cars in Japan. But when the Toyota moves into America, you know what they don't exclusively make? Tiny little cars that drive on the opposite side of the road of the Americans. Duh. It's just, I don't mean to be like, Mr. Trump's just stupid. He doesn't know what he's saying. But here we got BYD coming in to the market with a model of a car specifically designed for an export market. So, duh. That's duh. Details such as the driving distance on a single charge and the price of the new EV model have yet to be disclosed, but it should be around 2.5 million yen to buy. And it's been in the Japanese market already for the past couple of years. So notice how it doesn't have that amid. It doesn't have that on. It doesn't have that weaselly word between the two things trying to obfuscate or distract or, hey, we didn't say it was because of, we're just putting these two things in front of you. And it's restructuring costs. That's how you lose all that money. It's like, I don't know. maybe the world's moving on. It is a once in a century shift in the automotive industry because we're going to electrification. Before that, it was gasoline. And before that, it was gasoline. Like, what's this 100 years transformation nonsense? It's weird how they do that, isn't it? I don't know why. But it's odd. It's kind of like to soften the impact. It's because something like the automotive industry is like 10 to 20% of Japan's GDP, like overall. It's massive. It's huge. It employs tons of people all over the country. And then you have the peripheral industries, like the tire industries and the maintenance industries and all that stuff. So if it's getting hit at its core, you can expect the edges to fray. Maybe they don't want to say that. Maybe they don't want to say that at all.
Here we go.
That here we go is actually me. I did that as a voice thing for the band, the Shamisienists. The Shamisienists. Anyways, it was a long time ago. Let's take a look here at the supply chain wars. Die for the war, everybody move. Die for the good, die for the war, die for the war. All right, the supply chain war getting very confusing, because of the supply chain war I've been covering, and it's been like a fringe topic for the past few years. And it's always been kind of like I can choose the angle because I scrape the internet, I look for things, and I join them together, and I say, look, Japan is in this point here, and we have these emerging economies over there. They seem to be challenging on this front and that front, and China has this ambition to become a new global hegemon with its supply chain routes, and it's a ship manufacturer. It has a satellite program. It has these AI systems and digital QR code payments, and they seem to be wanting to connect the Chinese people in mainland China with export markets around the world and have a consumer link to those markets, but also have a resource link to those markets and trade exclusively in the renminbi, the Chinese digital yuan, and like just circumvent the U.S. dollar entirely with an entire new payment system. And then that's a very valuable thing. So people get crazy. We have these outbursts and wars over resources or access points, and that maybe that's what is kind of fueling some things about Russia, Ukraine, or Taiwan and China, or Palestine and Israel. It's a contributing factor, blah, blah, blah. But ever since the tariff announcements by U.S. President Trump kind of was initiated, it becomes like just a constant storm of information. It's kind of like I'm on like this beach and I'm kind of walking around going, look at this rock over here and look at this rock over here. If we put them side by side, we can kind of, maybe this was part of the rock originally. Maybe it's you can take your time to make your own analysis. But as soon as like the United States moves in on something, it's like a giant UFO like appears above me. It's like a shadow descends on the content I was curating, and it just starts pouring out of this machine over top of me. But not only the information, all of the characters from America too. You got Trump, and you got the security guy, and you got the trade experts, and then you also have the American media. And these days, all of like their influencers start swimming around, and all of a sudden, all the information's like, did you see what they said on Joe Rogan about the supply chain? And there's like just this massive amount of noise. One thing you can guarantee from the Americans is a noisy media. Noisy media. And so it's just, for the past few weeks, it's been like a maelstrom of information chaos. It's got my hat tucked down, and I holding it by the brim and holding my coat together as this information's just trying to put it together, and it's a little nuts. Especially trying to maintain like a Japanese point of view, because the idea of like an international supply chain and the just-in-time delivery system means like it's almost like a McDonald's hamburger patty, where one hamburger patty can be made up of hundreds of different cows, and then the cheese comes from another place, and it's one thing, but it's just it takes an entire network of of discombobulated elements to be repurposed into one thing together to sell it to people. That's kind of what like the global supply chain is like these days. It's not your neighbor making rice and you're making clogs and you trade clogs for rice based on the, chopping down woods in the forest behind your house or something like that. It's intensely complex. So to kind of like parse through all this data, but I try. I try to do it. I'm trying. And it's not bad. It's not bad. I'm just wondering, yeah. And it's so much comes in that it's like, I'm going to cover that, but then something else happens. But anyway, so today what we're going to look at is we're going to try to focus on the Japanese side and not get too distracted by the black holes of America. But one thing that we're going to begin with here, and this could be, in my opinion, a very folly move on behalf of Japan. One aspect of the supply chain war is the war between Ukraine and Russia. There's a giant cultural thing in there as well. I know the people in eastern Ukraine are largely Russia. The maps were drawn by communists to facilitate inter-ethnic rivalry so that they don't actually protest against the larger government, the Soviet at the time. So that a lot of those borders were drawn to specifically irritate local populations to prevent them from overthrowing the main central government there. It's like a divide and conquer technique, but just a little bit more cynical. But one aspect of the supply chain war there is the eastern Ukraine areas it's full of great stuff. The soil is great. There's a lot of industry over there. It connects down to into the Crimea Peninsula, all that stuff. And Japan, so the Crimea is very important for trade routes because it connects through the Bosphorus Strait into Turkey, and it's a way to the Mediterranean and warm water ports, all that stuff. And it's the supply chain route about this on Japan's part is that Japan is in the G7, and these conflicts are always siding on G7 or BRICS these days. And Japan has been pro-Ukraine, especially from the government level. I don't have a TV, but for like the first couple of years of the Ukraine war, every day they would feature Ukraine war news on Japanese TV. And there would be like posters around town promoting Ukraine and stuff like that. So there's been this concerted effort on behalf of the Japanese leadership to side with Ukraine. Part of it is because that's just what they do as part of the G7. They kind of fall in line with wider American interests because those are also Japanese interests at this point in time. But also there's the idea that if Japan invests a lot of money into Ukraine, they're going to have some sort of impact on the rebuilding there. I don't think that Europeans are going to allow Japanese to really go in and rebuild anything. Just my point of view. They already have too many Chinese in there. So are they going to open up the market or are they going to slam it shut? But this comes to us from the japantoday.com, but it's from which news agency? Thomson Reuters. And this is actually, I think it's really a move in a bad way in the supply chain war because Japan shares maritime borders with North Korea, with Russia, with China. And Japan is, ideologically aligned with the G7, but geographically positioned into these areas. But they've also had a long history of not playing nice with each other, Russia and Japan. Moscow slams treacherous Japanese loan to Ukraine using frozen Russian assets. If you've been paying attention to the Ukraine war, the EU or the international conglomerates of money people froze about $200 billion worth of Russian assets. And the idea has been to take these assets and give them to Ukraine so that Ukraine can fight back against Russia. But this, in my mind, is just a very childish way to poke the bear. There's plenty of other ways to get the money, but to give the Ukrainians Russian money so that the Ukrainians can go in and bomb Russia with their own money, it's like a psychological operation more than anything, and it's very immature. but they're going ahead with it anyways in a new move. They previously had taken interest on that $200 billion and funded something with it to the tune of billions of dollars, but they're just like, it's just the interest. Still, I don't think it's a good move. I think it's childish, and I don't think it's in the realm of appropriate diplomacy. That's just my view. I have an opinion. Russia on Thursday accused Japan of treachery and complicity in theft after Tokyo last week signed an agreement to lend Ukraine over $3 billion for reconstruction, backed by the proceeds from frozen Russian assets. I don't know. I wouldn't want to go into Russia and take $3 billion of theirs and give it over to somebody else. That doesn't sound like a good thing to do to Russia. Japan signed an agreement with Ukraine on April 18th for the loan of 471.9 billion yen, $3.3 billion, $3.3 billion. Under the terms of the arrangement, the loan will be repaid with proceeds from Russian assets worth tens of billions of dollars, which have been frozen in the European Union because of the war in Ukraine. The money is part of the G7's Extraordinary Revenue Acceleration for Ukraine program, which aims to provide Kyiv with $50 billion for reconstruction. Is it for reconstruction? Or is it just to dump a bunch of money into a broken, corrupt, and collapsed state, and that money's going to disappear, like giving a gambling addict $50 and telling him to go into the casino? So I'm reading this with a great consternation because it's just like, oh, okay, trajectory's getting worse then. Okay. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova told reporters at a briefing in Moscow on Thursday that the loan would damage already poor relations between Japan and Russia, which are strained by Tokyo's support for Ukraine against what the Japanese Foreign Ministry calls Russian aggression. Quote, we have long warned the Japanese side that participation in illegitimate experiments with the sovereign assets of the Russian Federation in any form will be regarded by us as complicity in theft, said Zakharova. Tokyo has cynically expressed its hope that these actions will not have a negative impact on relations with Russia. We have to disappoint them. Such actions will certainly and inevitably have a negative impact on relations with Russia. We regard such a step as extremely hostile, as treacherous. It is inadmissible under both legal and universal concepts. Russia said earlier this month it saw no reason to discuss the possibility of signing a long-awaited peace deal with Japan to formally end World War II because of what it called Tokyo's unfriendly stance towards Moscow. There's a whole bunch of islands off the northern coast of Hokkaido. It's been a point of contention between the two countries ever since the end of World War II. I've looked into it, and it depends on where you believe, like this Aleutian, Aleutian, Aleutian island chain ends. Some people say it ends at Hokkaido, and some people say it ends north of Hokkaido. So depending on, and the reason why it would end or not end is because it might be two separate island chains that look like they're one island chain, but they might actually be different island chains meeting in the middle of the northern oceans there. So anyways, there's this giant thing, but I don't know. That doesn't seem like a good idea to me. So expect things to get worse, not better on that front. Just a couple of more things in terms of defense. Japan seems to be, it had made a whole bunch of promises to ramp up its defense efforts, and then it was like, we can't, but it seems to be doing it. And there's been a multilateral approach to this. Just to read some headlines here for those interested. U.S. deploys anti-ship missiles near Taiwan in the Luzon Strait. So that's boosting up the Taiwanese defenses there. I'm all in favor of that. It's not that I'm really against China, and I don't really want to see any kind of shift in China. Like, China's China, and I don't really need to do much about it, but their behavior in the South China Sea and ramming boats and going into other waters and building up islands and stuff like that, it's a little iffy. It's a little iffy. And if you don't push back against it, well, one person's just going to push more and more and more. It's kind of the way it works. So, and then it gets into like, can Japanese businesses do well in China over the long term if China is militarily and politically acting in a different way. It's like there's these, again, people just not connecting the dots, or are they? And they're just trying to make as much money before the shiznat hits the Anfe. Next one. This one's kind of interesting too. Cambodia has really sided with China over the past few years, and with the Belt and Road Initiative has allowed China to build up some of its ports to great, debt. And it's also building canals, I believe, in Cambodia for transporting goods, allegedly, but this is all dual use. But this headline comes to us from April 20th from AFP, Agence France Presse. Japanese warships dock at Cambodia's Chinese renovated naval base in Phnom Penh. 2 Japanese warships made a port call at Cambodia's Chinese renovated naval base on Saturday, the Japanese embassy said. The first vessels to dock at the site that has raised concerns in Washington. Cambodian senior officials have repeatedly denied that the base is for use by any single foreign power. And Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet and a delegation of Chinese People Liberation Army inaugurated the base early this month. Hun Manet said during the opening that the base had nothing to hide and denied the new and improved facility would be for Beijing's exclusive use, saying ships from other countries would be allowed to dock. And it seems like they have. We are glad to witness the renovated Phnom Penh Naval Base, Embassy of Japan in Phnom Penh said in a statement sent to the media. So, just kind of an interesting thing there. Now, there's like this weird idea that China's economy is like faltering, and it might be, but their level of innovation and research and development into new technology is very notable, to say the least. This one comes to us from zerohedge.com, and I'm including it in here because it's involving weaponry. China tests novel non-nuclear hydrogen bomb, generates intense fireball. So just like 10 years ago when Russia began experimenting with its hypersonic missiles, it was like, And then 10 years later, they're launching them in Ukraine to send very powerful messages to the G7. Chinese scientists successfully detonated a powerful and innovative non-nuclear hydrogen-based bomb that produced an enduring, intensely hot fireball, the South China Morning Post reported on Sunday. This comes to us from April 21st, 2025, so it's last week, citing a research paper describing the experiment. The new technology centers on the use of magnesium hydride, MgH2, a white or silvery crystalline powder that's capable of storing an outsized amount of oxygen. The material and its extraordinary solid-state storage potential originally piqued scientists' interests for a peaceful purpose, transporting hydrogen to off-grid locations to use generating clean energy and heat by way of fuel cells. Magnesium hydride's storage capacity is far superior to pressurized tanks. The material is also of interest to scientists in the field of spacecraft propulsion. Naturally, scientists recognize that densely packed hydrogen offers extraordinary explosive potential and set out to build explosive devices to measure the destructive force. China's pioneering evaluation started small with a test bomb weighing 4.4 pounds, or 2 kilograms. The resulting fireball impressed researchers, producing heat exceeding 1,000 degrees Celsius. More importantly, the fireball lasted for more than 2 seconds, which is 15 times longer than a comparatively scaled neutrino or TNT explosion. No nuclear materials were involved. The test bomb was produced by the 705 Research Institute, a subsidiary operation of the Chinese State Shipbuilding Corporation. Among its many scientific endeavors, the 705 Research Institute is a leading force in China's development of underwater weapons systems. However, the bomb test was conducted on land, and SCMP's summary of the paper didn't address any naval kinetic warfare implications. However, magnesium hydride is being eyed for possible use in submarine fuel cells. The peer-reviewed paper on the innovative bomb appeared in the Chinese language Journal of Projectiles, Rockets, Missiles, and Guidance. I need this journal. Imagine that coming in the mail. What did you get in the mail today? Well, the Journal of Projectiles, Rockets, Missiles, and Guidance. I think I'm going to be busy this weekend. So again, just the supply chain war. I mean, it takes quite a supply chain to even get that going, and an innovative supply chain at that. And it kind of shows that China is developing itself in these arenas for future use in either fuel or aggression. And I'm only including it here because it just reminded me of 10 years ago when Russia began its full-fledged expansion into hypersonic missiles, and now that's being like a decisive victorious technology in their conflict in the Ukraine there. Without that hypersonic missiles, there'd be a lot more push into Ukraine from the G7. So who knows what this will do in the future of the supply chain war. And just the final thing here, China's Huawei to mass produce new AI chips sources. I'm not going to go too much into this. This will be linked up on the website at matthewpmbigelow.com. And there's been a massive effort to prevent China from being able to develop new AI chips, but they are moving forward, and Huawei can be subsidized by the Chinese government for like hundreds of billions of dollars. They have one of the largest research and development wings in the world, and basically they have this really competitive atmosphere. I read into it where it's like they will build facilities that can house like 20 to 30,000 engineers, and then they give them all competitions. And the engineers that can develop the best thing of this or the best thing of that can be set up in a very positive way. And I'm not sure what happens to the other people, but they probably lose out on massive opportunities. So you have like the nationalist recruiting effort where you go around the country looking for the most potentially high IQ, innovative, adept engineers in their high 18, 19, 20s. You put them into these corporate state-backed facilities housing hundreds or tens of thousands of people, give them the best technology available, and allow them to just go crazy with it to innovate and iterate as much as possible. And it doesn't matter if the United States says, we're going to put tariffs on you or we're going to sanction you so that you don't develop this. Well, you have a lot of human capital with a lot of innovation going on inside of these secretive buildings that nobody can really get in and out of if you're not Chinese. So they are going full on ahead with these ideas, not ideas, but with these innovations that are key to powering everything that we're going to be doing in the next 20 to 30 years. AI chips. But I'm not going to read the article. I just kind of more or less summarized it. But if you're interested in it, go to matthewpmbigelow.com, the official website of the Japan What podcast. Check it out there. It'll be there for you. That's going to be the supply chain war for today. Die for the war, everybody moves. Die for the good, die for the war, die for the war. Japan Society 5.0.
The fourth industrial revolution will enable us to create a new society.
No way.
Artificial intelligence will transform the big data collected through the Internet of Things into new wisdom.
You're joking, right?
Society 5.0. A technology-based, human-centered society. The fourth industrial revolution will raise our standard of living and solve various challenges we face.
Nice.
It will, for example, free us from the stress of driving, allowing us to safely visit anyone, anytime.
Whoa.
We will have access to the latest medical advancements at a low cost.
All right, so that is the Japanese government's promotional video for all things AI, Japan Society 5.0. 1.0, we're living in caves. 5.0, it's the next version from here. Everything's wireless. Everything has a facial recognition camera in it. And we're being logged and tracked wherever we go because it's convenient. Who needs to bring a bank card when you can just use your face? We're going to begin with one that I thought has it's getting better. And I just wanted to tap into it for the first one because it provides an example of AI and what AI can do as opposed to what it could do a few years ago. Like if you were using Google Translate in 2010, it was just a joke, but now it's quite good. And also if you're doing voice generation, 5 years ago, I didn't like it. Now I can like it. I don't like it all the time, but I can like it. I can listen to it and not go crazy. So this is just an example of that. And I'm going to have two examples of similar innovations. One's text and one's audio. And it's not to say that they're the same because I'm not using like an amid or an on. It's just in this realm of AI voice generation, we can see where it's going. That's all I wanted to say. U.S. unicorn venture 11 Labs establishes Japanese subsidiary to strengthen Japanese language support for voice generation AI and as a base for expansion into Asia. Notice how Japan's not doing this so much. Are they? I'm not sure, but I haven't seen much. 11 Labs, a U.S. company developing voice generation AI, announced on April 14th that it has established a Japanese subsidiary, 11 Labs Japan GK, in Marunouchi, Chiyoda-ku, Tokyo. This will be the company's first overseas base and will play a central role in localizing Japanese voice models and expanding its business in the Asia-Pacific region. The company was founded in 2022 and is a voice AI startup that provides text-to-speech voice cloning and multilingual dubbing technology. In its Series C funding round in January 2025, the company raised a total of $180 million from A16Z, Will, NTT Docomo Ventures, and others, and this was its first overseas expansion using those funds. The representative of the Japanese subsidiary is Hajime Tamura, who has held management positions at SAP Japan, Microsoft Japan, Asana Japan. As general manager in charge of the Japanese and Korean markets, Tamura will provide and promote local business development and partner strategies. The reason 11 Labs chose Japan as its first overseas base is that Japanese is one of the most technically challenging languages for text-to-speech implementation due to its pitch accent and context-dependent emotional expression. By overcoming this challenge, the company aims to demonstrate the superiority of its technology to the global market. I'm going to stop it there. But I don't know why Japan's not doing it. Are they? Are they just not good at it? I don't know. Like there's a big AI thing, but Japan is not really interested in it, it seems. But they want to have it just delivered. They just want to scroll. They want to be scrolling on their phones and have it just delivered. So this next one is an example, not of text-to-speech per se, but of AI removing accents. So this is just an example of how AI with speech is getting better and better. As you all know, the joke is that you call a call center and the person on the other end is like, hello, how may I help you? My name is Jerry. I am here to help you. I am in Boston and I'd like to help you today because I am talking like a Boston person named Jerry. And you're like, I don't believe you. But that's just the way it's going, or the way it has been going until now. So this comes to us. I found this on Twitter, and this is from an account called Shweta. With AI removing accents, it'll be impossible to tell if Josh from Texas is actually an Indian dude dialing in from Bangalore call center. Accent neutralizing starts at around 22 seconds. So we're going to listen to an Indian dude, and then the AI is going to filter him out and turn him into a Texan.
Hello, my name is Manoj and I'm a call center agent from India. Clear communication is vital for my customers and me, but accent barriers can sometimes make it challenging. That's where crisp accent conversion comes in. Let me show you the voice preservation mode in action.
He turns it on, same guy talking.
This mode keeps my original voice intact while softening challenging parts of my accent. It helps customers understand me better, improving satisfaction on both sides of the call.
I turned it off now,
No
so
way.
you can hear the difference clearly. I'll now turn it on again.
Now turn it on.
Notice how my natural tone and personality shine through? This mode allows me to stay authentic, making every interaction more personal and effective. By removing accent barriers in real time, crisp accent conversion enables clear conversations and ensures an exceptional experience for both customers and agents alike. Thank you for watching this demo.
All right, so that's just like it's live. It's in real time. So first he is talking like this, and then I am talking like this. There's still a little bit of artifacts in there, but if you were on a call with somebody, you wouldn't be sure if that was because they were using an AI filter or if there was just some sort of issue with the call itself. So those artifacts wouldn't present themselves. I mean, when you're watching the demo video and you're, intently looking at an AI service, I can see that it's kicking in there or it's kicking out there. But if it was just on a call, you wouldn't even notice, especially today with global English. You'd probably be like, oh, it wasn't somebody with a thick South Asian accent. I myself have no problems with South Asian accents. I quite like them, in fact. I like talking to Indian people. They're very interesting to talk to, and I don't have a problem understanding them. I've spent a lot of time in Asia studying accents. So a lot of people say, why are you talking like that? It is a racist way to talk. And I'm like, it's not exactly an Indian accent, but by trying to learn how they sound out words, it helps me actually understand their accents. So when I talk to them now, I don't have a problem with their accents because I've been trying to sound like them, you see, because I like the way they sound and I want to sound like them sometimes. So I was studying how they are talking and how they like to talk. And the way that they are talking is sometimes difficult for many people to understand, but not me. I don't have a problem with it. I'm not using an AI filter. Wouldn't that be funny? In fact, I've been using an AI filter just now. It's called Sound Like a South Asian, the AI filtration service nobody needs. All right, so that's just an example of how far the technology is coming. Mister. Next one. Do we have enough time? How are we running for time here? Yeah, we got enough time. We got a little bit of time. Just enough time. Let's take a look at what's going on. I might skip that. This is what I wanted to go to. So that example of the voice is probably going to be sold as a software as a service solution into the HR departments of some major global system, and it'll just be in the computers running, and it'll handle calls until the AI agents take over completely or the chatbots take over completely. But one of the main focuses of growth here is not just like goofy stuff for people, but it's for medicine. And here we have a couple of examples of that. Artificial intelligence and telemedicine market projected to grow from $18.7 billion to $157 billion by 2033, with a CAGR of combined annual growth revenue, I can't remember CAGR, of 26.7% over the next 10 years to power telemedicine and diagnostic solutions. This comes to us from Report Ocean. It's translated from Japanese. The artificial intelligence market in telemedicine is on a rapid upward trajectory and is projected to grow, what I just said, up to $157 billion by 2033. This dramatic rise indicates a compound annual growth rate, CAGR, of 26.7%. The integration of AI technologies in telemedicine is set to transform the healthcare sector, enabling more efficient and personalized care while improving patient outcomes. Accelerating adoption of AI-driven solutions across healthcare organizations is a key factor for driving the market expansion. So the way that healthcare is expected to change, whether it will or not, but that's where a major amount of money is expected to be made and a major amount of investment is being made in it, whether it's uploading your medical imagery to a large language model and it analyzes it and it tells you stuff better than your average technician can. Some bored or hungover person, the large language model looks at the picture in a form of pixelization, understands some irregularities with the pixelization, isolates that pixelization, runs that irregularity of pixelization across a vast data bank of medical imagery, and identifies what type of pixelization it's looking at, compares it to the literature, and comes back at you with a diagnosis of saying, actually, what's going on with your small intestine isn't good, or your doctor may have missed this. That's like, you can't ignore the value of that. and this comes to us, and in Japan, it should be said that the medical industry in Japan is also massive. You go into any major building and they have clinics in there. They have prescription, you can get your prescriptions filled there. It's all over the place. Healthcare in Japan is a major, major industry. And as the population ages, more and more money gets allocated to it so that the politicians can get reelected because you're technically trying to keep your voters alive longer. NEC establishes secure cancer vaccine manufacturing process using facial recognition technology that does not store facial information. So this is an insane amount of technological capability, and it requires so much money to get it right. But it's insane because that is a Japan Society 5.0 solution. It's not just paying for using your face to pay at a convenience store. It's not some sort of goofy translation service where you now sound like South Asian people. This is NEC establishes secure cancer vaccine manufacturing process using facial recognition technology that does not store facial information. So even reading that sounds like just amount of SEO gobbledygook to me. It doesn't sound like it should be real. It's hard to imagine it. I kind of feel like the natives of South America looking at the ships coming in from Europe, not even knowing what they are, maybe just think they're giant rocks. Like you don't even know what you're looking at here. On April 1st, 2025, NEC announced that it has developed technology that enables a secure workflow for the production of personalized cancer vaccines. The company has successfully demonstrated the technology in-house, which uses facial recognition technology that does not store the patient's facial information, traceability assurance technology, and the ability to manage sensitive information such as personal information with minimal data. It's crazy, right? The developed technology utilizes the company's biometric digital signature technology, which converts facial image feature information into key information for identity authentication. Authentication is possible using key information without storing the patient's facial information, improving the reliability of administering vaccines to patients while reducing the risk of facial information being leaked or misused. In addition, the digital signature generated makes it possible to trace or post-verify whether patient identification was carried out correctly when the vaccine was administered. When designing and creating personalized cancer vaccines from a patient's genome data, it is important to guarantee the authenticity of the genome data. The company has developed a tampering detection technology that groups genome data and assigns tag data for testing, reducing the amount of tag data required. This reduces the amount of tag data for testing to 1/10 while maintaining the same level of tampering detection accuracy as when tag data is assigned to all genome data. This has made it possible to both guarantee the authenticity of the genome data and reduce the storage costs of tag data for testing. The company built an environment for the operation of personalized cancer vaccines within the company and conducted a demonstration experiment, which successfully detected the mix-up of patients and samples before the vaccine was administered. It was also confirmed that the system can detect tampering with genomic data. The company plans to verify the usefulness and issues of the system through external demonstrations from fiscal 2025 onwards. Now, that is a future world. There's all this graph information. It's all in Japanese. It'll be posted up at MatthewPMBigelow.com. But yeah, you'll go into the hospital and your face will be a major part of the treatment you receive. Pretty crazy, isn't it? Just a couple more headlines before wrapping up for today. Japan's NTT Data, again, they were partnering with another company before. What was it? I can't remember. I'm not going to go into it. Anyways, Japan's NTT Data partners with OpenAI to offer AI business tools. This is AI agents. So SoftBank wants to release hundreds of millions of AI agents into the Japanese markets. Well, NTT, the Nippon Telegraph something, and it's a telecommunications company. They want to join in as well. So OpenAI has the ability to team up with SoftBank, and then OpenAI also has the ability to team up with NTT Data in this case. So it's this case that I mentioned before where foreign companies can come into Japan and with the technology, and the Japanese companies invest so much money into these American or foreign companies that then provide AI labor into Japanese companies. But then these companies don't need to hire as much Japanese labor in the future, which could be a good thing because there's not enough Japanese to cover it. So instead of hiring a bunch of Myanmarese or Vietnamese and bringing them in, would it be better to try to solve those labor shortage solutions with AI agents? It's an interesting conundrum. They're trying to do both. AI experiment to ease traffic congestion. Cameras detect vehicles and encourage detours. I've always thought this would be a good idea where, something happens. It's rush hour. There's a concert in town, an exhibition in town. 5 p.m., they all end at the same time, and the streets get too clogged. Nobody knows why. But if you have like an AI camera traffic system in place, it can detect in real time. And if your cars are connected into this, they can say, oh, the traffic is way busy ahead. Why don't you take this detour? But if anyone from this is listening, one key point for the IoT industry is, I consider this IoT, even though it might not have the gateways or the engineers get angry when you say stuff like that, by the way. They get angry. But anyways, it's kind of an IoT system. One way to facilitate it would be to team up with local restaurants. And in such cases, the local restaurant can issue a coupon. And so the driver can get a suggestion saying, oh, it's really busy up ahead. Why don't you take this detour? And here's a coupon for a free coffee at this local diner along the way. And, oh, so then it would encourage people to vacate clogged lanes instead of just being like, I think I'll wait. Whatever. I don't know those roads. I might just waste more money on gas if I get lost. Some sort of random made up decision that just makes you go, I don't think so. Oh, here's a free coffee over here. Oh, they have a free extra bowl of rice, an extra slice of chashu on your ramen if you go there. So that way it would encourage people to, get out of these lanes and go into other lanes with restaurants on them and have some boost to the local economy when such random traffic snarls occur. I'm not going to cover that. I over-prepared for today. Just a couple more things about foreign companies entering Japan. British self-driving AI company Wave opens development center in Yokohama, exploring collaboration with Japanese manufacturers. Japan's kind of open these days. Huh? It's not really doing a lot itself, it seems. Touring, an autonomous driving tech company in Japan, borrows 1.3 billion yen from Mizuho Bank. This is the first time the company has borrowed more than 1 billion yen. So they're just trying to create systems that can deal with Japan's complex traffic conditions by combining public road driving data and generative AI. On the 24th, Touring announced that it would develop self-driving taxis to solve problems. And so that's the case of Japan doing it itself, but it's requiring a lot of money to do so. So these other companies come into Japan and they kind of end up distributing money, but then these local companies in Japan require the funding to do so, and they might not succeed. Interesting how that works, huh? So I think that's going to be Japan Society 5.0 for today. The main takeaway, of course, would be the amount of foreign companies moving in on Japan and these innovations on the consumer level of having some people that talk like this suddenly talk like this. But I think the ultimate one is this rapid movement into the higher echelons of our society, such as the medical industry and providing medical services. I'm just going to read that headline out once more because it's such a mishmash of words that it just seems impossible to put together, but they are. And that is, in my opinion, the true Society 5.0. NEC establishes secure cancer vaccine manufacturing process using facial recognition technology that does not store facial information. And that comes to us from the monoist.itmedia.co.jp. So that if you're interested in any of these headlines, I take all of the headlines and I put them on the Japan What podcast website, which is MatthewPMBigelow.com. You can go there, see some pictures, and confirm some of the details or read further into the news that I haven't been going into. So you're more than welcome to check out the website, MatthewPMBigelow.com.
The fourth industrial revolution will enable us to create a new society. Artificial intelligence will transform the big data collected through the Internet of Things into new wisdom. Society 5.0. A technology-based human...
So to review the podcast, I'm going to play a song where I take all of the headlines, I put them into Grok. We make sonnets, we go back and forth. Then I take the sonnets and I copy and paste them more or less. I rearrange them a little bit too into sudo.com, song generator, and let's review.
Masons accounts unravel threads of loss. Its factories dim beneath fiscal strain. Executives carve past through chaos gloss to reshape bones of industry's old frame. Toyota's trucks stumble on data's fraud. He knows ledgers sink in scarlet ink. A scandal clips production steady plod. Global output shrinks from trust a sharp brink. Mazda calls for hands to leave their posts. As electric tides redraw the market's chart, volunteers step toward retirement's ghost. While China's EV makers claim their part, BYD crafts a mini car for Japan's streets. The future homes where old ambitions meet. It's not in the future, it's happening now on the Japan What podcast? Moscow snarls at Japan's loan to Ukraine. Funds carved from Russia's frozen vaults ignite. Warships glide to Cambodia's rebuilt lane. China's shadow looms in naval sight. What podcast? Beijing tests a hydrogen bomb, spheres blaze. No nuclear pulse, but fireballs sear. Huawei's AI chips join the global race. While 11 labs fumes Japan's voice clear. It's not in the future, it's happening now on the Japan What podcast? What podcast? Osaka's expo falters for the old. Digital gates lock out the unprepared. Uzbek's data leaks in pavilions cold. Yet CO2 tech soars and air's new thread. Nace vaccines guard with faceless locks. AI steers Japan's roads past traffic's clocks. On the Japan what? On the Japan podcast.
All right. It did go into the Osaka Expo. It's playing the next song. Oh, I like that song. Been doing a lot of AI song creation these days. Anyways, it covered some Osaka Expo. I prepared for it, but I didn't get into it on the podcast because of time limitations. And I'm working on getting an interview set up about the Osaka Expo, about what is it really? So we'll see about that in the next couple of weeks. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning into the podcast. Remember to go to the website, MatthewPMBigelow.com. Remember to make a donation at paypal.me/JapanWUT. That's paypal.me /JapanWUT. Make a donation. Until next time, I bid thee a very happy and warmful and heartful Ja Mata
Yo!